In July of 1518, a woman in the city of Strasbourg began to dance. She danced in the street. She did not stop. She danced for days. Within a week, 34 people had joined her. They danced continuously, without rest, without apparent choice. Within a month, the number had grown to somewhere between 200 and 400 people, all dancing in the streets of Strasbourg without stopping. Some of them died. Contemporary accounts describe deaths from exhaustion, heart failure, and stroke. At the height of the event, estimates from the period suggest as many as 15 people were dying each day. The city authorities responded by hiring musicians. Their reasoning, provided by the physicians they consulted, was that the afflicted needed to keep dancing until the sickness had run its course. The cure, they were told, was more dancing. A stage was built. Professional dancers were brought in. The Guildhall and the grain market were opened for use. The dancing continued for approximately 2 months. It ended as suddenly and as inexplicably as it had begun, in September 1518. This is not a legend. It is not folklore. It is documented in municipal records, physician accounts, letters, and sermons from the time. It happened, and nobody in the 5 centuries since has produced an explanation that satisfactorily covers all the facts. Strasbourg in 1518 was a city under pressure. The region of Alsace had endured years of poor harvests, famine, and disease. Smallpox, syphilis, and other epidemics had passed through. The broader population was experiencing sustained, grinding poverty that had gone on for years without relief. This context matters for understanding what happened, not as an excuse, but as a condition. The woman who began dancing in July has been referred to in historical sources as Frau Trophäa. She danced in a street in the city for 4 to 6 days before she was taken to a shrine. Within that same week, others began to join her. The primary contemporary account comes from a Strasbourg physician writing at the time, and from a local chronicler named Sebald Bueller, who recorded the events with specific numbers and dates. Their accounts have been corroborated by municipal records showing the city's response: the opening of public spaces for dancing, the hiring of musicians, the cost of doing so. These are administrative records, bureaucratic decisions made and recorded. They confirm that the city of Strasbourg genuinely believed it was dealing with a real, large-scale medical crisis, one severe enough to require official intervention. By August, the situation had become alarming enough that the city's governing council issued formal guidance. The physicians who had initially recommended more dancing began to revise their position. A proclamation was issued prohibiting music and dancing in the city, the opposite instruction from what had been given a month earlier. The afflicted were taken in groups to a mountain shrine at Saverne, approximately 30 kilometers from Strasbourg, where relics of Saint Vitus and Saint Guy were kept. Saint Vitus was, in the religious culture of the time, the patron saint associated with certain kinds of involuntary movement and dancing afflictions. The name itself, St. Vitus dance, had long been used to describe a neurological condition characterized by involuntary jerking movements. Whether the condition in Strasbourg was related to that tradition, or whether the name was applied retrospectively, is not clear from the sources. By September, the dancing had stopped. No deaths are recorded after the pilgrimage to Saverne. The chroniclers record the event as having ended. The city's administrative records show no further expenditure related to the crisis. It was over. Several explanations have been proposed over the centuries. The most frequently cited modern theory is mass psychogenic illness, a well-documented phenomenon in which symptoms spread through a group without an underlying physical cause, driven instead by shared psychological stress. Mass psychogenic illness has been recorded in modern times. Factory outbreaks where workers develop symptoms simultaneously with no environmental cause. School events where students begin fainting or experiencing nausea in clusters. The common thread is high stress, a triggering event, and a community that is already primed to interpret certain symptoms through a shared cultural framework. In 1518 Strasbourg, all of those conditions were present. Years of famine and disease had created extreme and sustained stress in a population with no effective outlet. The religious and folkloric framework of the time included specific traditions around cursed dancing, particularly the belief that failing to honor Saint Vitus could result in affliction. This meant that when the first person began dancing uncontrollably, the people watching already had a cultural vocabulary for what they were seeing and, crucially, for what might happen to them next. This theory is compelling. It is the explanation most historians and medical researchers have settled on. But it has a gap. Mass psychogenic illness typically involves symptoms like fainting, trembling, or nausea. It does not typically involve sustained, continuous dancing for weeks without stopping. The physical endurance required, dancing without rest for days and weeks, goes well beyond what psychogenic illness normally produces. The people in Strasbourg were not simply trembling or feeling ill. They were dancing until their feet bled, until their hearts gave out, until they died. That degree of sustained physical compulsion is harder to explain. Ergo poisoning has been proposed as an alternative. Ergo is a fungus that grows on rye grain. When consumed, it causes ergotism, a condition characterized by convulsions, hallucinations, and in severe cases, gangrene. The St. Anthony's fire outbreaks of the medieval period are now believed to have been caused by ergot contamination of grain. In a population dependent on rye bread in a year when food supplies were already strained, ergot contamination is not implausible. But ergot poisoning does not cause dancing. It causes convulsions and spasms, not the rhythmic, sustained directional movement that the sources describe. And it would not spread through a community in the social pattern the Strasbourg accounts document, person by person, spreading outward from an original case through proximity and observation. Ergot poisoning remains a minority view among researchers, and for good reason. John Waller, a historian who wrote the most thorough modern analysis of the 1518 events, concluded that the episode was most likely a mass psychogenic event, but one of a type specific to its time and place. He argues that the people of Strasbourg in 1518 were not simply dancing involuntarily. They were, in some meaningful sense, responding to their circumstances through the only framework available to them. The dancing was compulsive. It was also, in the religious culture of the time, a potential path to grace or to punishment. The line between religious ecstasy and involuntary affliction was genuinely blurred in that context. This does not fully explain the deaths. It does not explain the sustained physical endurance. It does not explain why this particular event, on this scale, in this city, at this time, has no real parallel in the historical record before or after. The dancing plague of 1518 remains unique. There is no other documented event quite like it. Mass hysteria and psychogenic illness have been recorded across centuries and cultures. Outbreaks of involuntary movement, fainting, and collective distress are part of the medical literature. But 200 to 400 people dancing continuously in the streets of a European city for 2 months, with deaths reported at the height of it, and an ending that came as suddenly as the beginning. That combination exists once, in Strasbourg, in 1518. The primary sources are real. The municipal records are real. The administrative response was real. What caused it is not agreed. What ended it is not fully understood. Whether it could happen again, under the right conditions in a community under the right kind of pressure is a question nobody has cleanly answered. This has been the Pale Dossier. File 08 remains open.